The next story is by Alan. And Alan is another coaching student of mine and has really mastered the art of identifying really great equity extraction properties and very, very clever ways to buy them in such that he doesn't have to put a lot of his own money down, but uses the rental income from the property to actually do alterations to increase the rental yield and obviously make it really work. Alan has really identified that way, signing an offer to purchase but delaying the transfer, and therefore takes occupation of the property and paying occupational rate at a low amount, then does alterations and increases the income on the property so that by the time final transfer happens, he can actually get really good bank finance. And of course, as the stories you will hear, it literally becomes a free property. So this is his story, and I'll see you on the other side. Great. So, Alan, thanks so much for being on the podcast with us. And I remember coming to spend some time with you, and we had a look at one of your properties, and you told me the story behind it, and I was so enthralled actually by your story and how you had come to get this property under contract, and of course how you changed it and tweaked it so that you could totally transform the yields. And I think every property investor, when they hear your story, is going to say, my word, I want one like that. And of course, we can go and say, well, this isn't really luck, because it's not only one you've got. I mean, you've got multiple properties out there. I mean, you've become an expert in really being able to identify, run the numbers, and be totally prepared, right? We were discussing just before this call how important it is for an investor to be really prepared. So I want to hear the story again. Of course, I want you to share that and the details with this deal with everyone out there, just to show them that it's possible for everyone else as well, right? So over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Robin, for having me share that story. It's a very sort of inspiring story, because it's a part of my life in property investment, which it sort of like taught me a hell of a lot and really got things like cracking and going. And this is an amazing property, an amazing deal. And the potential it had, we're still extracting potential out of it. We haven't even, we're just like halfway with it right now. So anyway, so it's a property in Morningside in Durban. It has a sea view. It has, it used to be, it was a big house which was sectionalized into 3 units. So as when we bought it, it already had 3 water meters, 3 electricity meters already, and they had tenants in 3 units. So we took over, and as you said, being prepared, fortunately, I know about municipal laws. I know about how to see what you're allowed to make, you're allowed to convert properties into, in terms of the zoning. And the zoning allowed that property to actually create 10 individual flats. And it's all limited by the amount of parking. So we managed to find 14 parkings on the property on plan, and we're allowed to have 10 sectional title units on the property. So we submitted the plans, and town planning already approved the initial part. So before we went ahead with it, we made a deal with the seller. We said, we're going to pay you, or we're going to do transfer in 6 months' time, and you must allow us to occupy the place, and we'll pay you occupational rent, and within 6 months we'll get transfer. And this is where I learned about the importance of preparation, because I was not prepared. The opportunity came. I have a partner in this. We half in it, and he found the deal. He asked me if he can come part with me, and I do all the renovations and maintenance. He puts in the capital. I said no problem, and I must go and raise the bond. So then I have the deal. So he comes with the capital, I come with a bond. In other words, this is our arrangement. You can come with the bond, I come with the capital, we have a deal. I said deal. Then I realized I'm not prepared. I can't raise the bond. I don't have, our cash flow does not allow us to get the bond. So thank God we had 6 months to prepare everything. I prepared all my finances. We got everything in order. We closed accounts, so that we increased our affordability to a point where the bank is actually going to say, okay, you can have the bond. And it was such a tight thing. Like within the 6 months, we got the bond. Such a relief. So during the 6 months while we're preparing ourselves, we were also doing the renovations because according to the council, now that the plans were like, okay, so we went ahead and started converting the house into 10 units. So while doing this, first thing you have to do is, I always talk about this, your property has to be cash flow positive from day one, otherwise don't touch it. And that property was cash flow positive from day one, from the time we took occupation, not even ownership. It had 2 tenants in the property. Those 2 tenants were covering the occupational rent. So that means we were not outlaying 1 cent out of our pocket. So we just kept collecting the rents from those 2 tenants while we took the 3rd unit and we had an outbuilding and we started renovating it and we started renting them. So as we started renting them, this house started to become more and more cash flow positive. There was more and more surplus. We took that surplus over the next 6 months and put it back into the house. By the time there was transfer, the rent that we collected actually paid all the transfer fees. And so by the time there was transfer, the house is cash flow positive. We bought the house for 1.7 million. We invested 600,000 cash, and a large portion of that 600,000 was from rent collected. My partner probably paid about 400,000 for the deposit, and I got the 1.3 million rand bond. And upon transfer, we were already producing about 40,000 rands worth of rental in 6 months.
I mean, that's exactly what we want to hear, right? I mean, that's a great story around someone who is, when they keep talking about, not using any of your own money and no money down. I mean, this is a clever way of not only doing a joint venture with someone else to obviously get some of that capital down, but also then how to do your refurbishment or alterations by actually using the property itself to pay for all of that. Like what you've discussed is really great. And of course, that just increases your affordability at the end of the day. What I want to know is, how did you convince the owner when he sold it to you to say, sure, I'll delay this transfer for 6 months. Meanwhile, of course, you're doing all these alterations.
I think the owner couldn't sell it. He wasn't in Durban. He was living in Cape Town. He wasn't making a lot of money out of it, and he was having difficulty selling it. So we came along, we said, we will give you your price. Basically what tends to happen, some sellers, they want their price, but they won't get it. So when you make those types of deals and you delay it, you give an incentive, say, we will give you your price. However, we will not pay you now. We will do transfer in 6 months' time or a year's time, and you get your price. And a lot of sellers, we've done a few deals like that. I can give you stories of 3 or 4 properties where we actually did deals like this, where we delayed transfer. We took ownership, 2 houses actually, we took ownership for 1 year. Took occupation for 1 year. Because they would never get the price and the banks will never give the money. Because the banks will come and do a valuation of the property and run away. So because we know how to renovate and we know what is needed, we make it productive, we collect cash flow positive, we make the house become bondable. The seller is happy, now he gets his price from a house that was in disarray or not in good condition. We turn it in good condition, we make the money, our cash flow positive. The bank is happy to finance you because they have confidence they can see, we're professionals, and the seller wins. So it's a win-win 3 ways.
Yep.
And I've done 3 or 4 deals that I can remember like that, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this worked because, as a professional property investor yourself, you figured out what the banks need to look for and you know how to set everything up. Like you said, you learned the lesson of setting your finances up, your books correctly, how to channel the rent correctly such that it actually really demonstrates, 1, that you know what you're doing, and 2, that, the banks say, yes, this is affordable. I can therefore obviously, finance you for future deals as well.
And also, for example, as I said, like with the rentals, we use the rentals and we do the renovations. So it's like there's no money coming out of your pocket. The only thing that can come out from the investor is the deposit. And we've even had deposits paid out of equity in properties. There's a lot of stories to tell. Yeah.
Yep. And now coming back to Percy Osborne, because what's really interesting about this is obviously, as you said, you bought it for about 1.7, put in 500,000-600,000 rand as well. That not that you put in, but came from most of the rent that's there. Yeah. But the exciting thing is you've got 10 units, right, as opposed to just the 3 sectional titles, and the possibility of now sectionalizing all those 10. And if you really wanted to, you could sell those off. So tell us about that process and what that could unlock as in capital for you.
So this is where the term called extracting value out of a deal. So this is the value you can extract. in the area, a flat will go for 500, 600,000. 10 flats, 6 million rand. So you can sell 2 or 3 flats or 4 flats once it's sectionalized. You collect the cash, and you can use it as deposits for other properties. So this is where the free money comes in, because of that, the ability to see into the future as to what is possible and what values can be there out of nothing. If we look at the numbers, my partner only invested 400,000, and he can actually extract 3 million rand now out of a 400,000 rand investment. My equity was more sweat equity, a lot of sweat from my side and providing the bond. My sweat has turned into 3 million when we finish, when we go and finish the sectionalizing. So that's our next thing to do, because everything is in place now.
Yeah, I mean, that really shows also the degree to which exponentially you can kind of grow, because it's not just incremental, it's actually exponential, because you're getting not all your capital back, but even so much more. And of course, you can just, fold that back in, and it just, onto the next deals and the next deals. And, it's a very clever strategy. And actually, you can do it within a fairly short period of time. It's not like every 5 years are you going to refinance, just take some of your equity out. You're actually, within a year to 2 years, literally, as you said, going from 400,000 to 3 million, and then just to be able to repeat.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, the speed is just dependent on you, how fast you want to do it, how intense you want to be, or how relaxed you want to be.
And again, coming back to this, because often when we're increasing the occupation on a certain property, neighbors start saying, "Oh, what are you doing here? How does you're not allowed to." Now, you said right at the beginning, you knew what your company was capable of doing. It was around the parking, all that scenario. Now, if I'm correct, you didn't actually build on. You just kind of reorganized so that you could have more units inside than that traditionally were there when you had first bought the property. So from the outside, nothing much changes, but you can still have difficult neighbors. So what is your suggestion to people out there if they, when neighbors start becoming nitpicky? I mean, how do you handle difficult neighbors?
My wife and myself are a team. And I find that when you have your partner with you, it works very, very well. And she's very good with people. She made friends with all the neighbors and told the neighbors, this is what we're doing, this is our plan. And secondly, she's very good with tenants. She controls tenants very well. Because prior to us taking over, that place was noisy. They had one guy who was dealing in drugs. The police used to come and raid the house often. So it was a bit of a nuisance for the neighbors, and the neighbors were very sort of not comfortable about the entire thing. So when we came in and we removed all these guys and we started putting our own tenants in, we qualify our own tenants. We don't take other people's tenants. We qualify them. And since then, because we control the tenants so well, the neighbors are so happy to have us. They said they don't hear a peep from the property. There's no noise. There's no disturbance, nothing. So it all depends on how you manage your tenants after the construction, and prior to construction or renovations, with the noise and all these things, you build a relationship around your neighbors to say, this is what you plan to do. This is what you're going to accomplish, and then deliver that to them. And we do this with every property, and we always have a good relationship, and they're always supporting us and allowing us to do what we have to do. Yep. If we're going to make noise on a Saturday, we tell them. If there's going to be noise at night, we tell them. We tell the neighbors. So they're not surprised by disturbances.
I look forward to hearing the next deal that you're going to share with us. So yeah, until that day, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.